Hola, buenas tardes. My name is Adrian Schmid. I'm the moderator this afternoon. We're still waiting for some of the speakers, so I would like to wait another 2-3 minutes because I don't like to have the people coming in when we already started. Hola, bon dia. There are some seats. You are not speakers. There is a seat also. Here is a seat. Does somebody of you know Rirocchio? Is not here. Did somebody of you saw the two people from Morocco? I'm Tunisian. So, I think we can start now. We have 15 minutes delay. That means we have to close this session exactly at the time as you have in the program, because you know the program is going on in the afternoon. There will be also an evening event this night at 7:30, so that means we have now about nearly 70 minutes. That's quite good time. I'm really happy to be here in Mexico, Ciudad. It's a great pleasure for me. I mean, it's 15 years ago. We started in Lucerne, Switzerland, with the first global forum. Did one of you, maybe except Nisko Deubelburg, joined the first global forum in Switzerland? Daniel Schivi, great to have you here. Is there somebody who joined some of the forums during the last 11 years? Nisko Deubelburg, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, great. And of course, Stephanie Bossart also. Yeah. Great to have you here. Okay, it's like we have an introduction. Each of the speakers have 1 minute just to inform. You give some details about your identity or whatever you wanted to say about you. We've been in contact, then we start another 1 minute. What's the main points of today's discussion? And I would like to have an interactive discussion. That means you are invited to bring you and your ideas, your questions, your short questions, and your short ideas into the discussion. I don't want to have a one-way direction discussion here. We have a lot of discussion during the Global Forum, so that will be the chance, the possibility today, this afternoon, for all of you. I think I would like to ask, when I look around here, who is from Mexico? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, you are invited for questions. There's a translation. Do you have all the system for translation? Is it okay? Is it okay for you for the translation? It's good. Thank you. Thank you all for the organization, INE, whatever you all have done. Thank you for the translation. So, my name, as I just mentioned before, is Adrian Schmid. Just 5 months ago, I said that here many already at the event at the Swiss Embassy. I was the local project manager for the Global Forum last year in Lucerne, Switzerland. This is my hometown, and it was the first Global Forum we had after 2 bad years of pandemic in Switzerland. For myself, I was very happy to have the forum in Switzerland, because it was the first time we could meet each other together. Because it was a chance to discuss, to get information, to learn people, and to see what we can learn from each other. So this was quite a good moment 5 months ago. Today we are a further step here, far away from Switzerland, and we are also looking forward maybe to the next forum in 24, maybe at 25. That's completely open at the moment, but this idea of the Global Forum all over the world, we had it, as you know, maybe from the program in different countries. If you like, I have here the program from the last Global Forum last year. Welcome everybody. Please take your seat. I wait 1 moment until they close the door. If you need translation, please get the system there, then we go further on. It's okay? Translation? Okay, I said the Global Forum in Lucerne was a chance, because I've been born in this town, a little town in the middle of Switzerland, and in Switzerland we had also the possibility a couple of years ago, 30 years ago, I said that Stephanie Bossart, I would like to welcome here especially. She's the director of the Swiss Democracy Foundation, and I'm very happy to be here to have you here, Stephanie, not as a speaker, but maybe as an interested guest. Maybe you have some question or idea. She was the former director of the so-called umbrella for, how do you call that in English, Swiss Young Association.
The Federation of Swiss Youth Parliaments.
Okay. Did you hear it? Did you understand it? And maybe one question, the last question, Stephanie. How many people worked with you for this organization?
On a professional level, 60.
60 people all over Switzerland. They worked for this umbrella, for the Swiss Federation of Youth Parliament Organization. This is quite good because it's also maybe the answer of a so-called motion we had in the Parliament of Lucerne. I've been a member of the Parliament in Lucerne, former Vice President of the Switzerland Green Party, and we asked 30 years ago for a so-called children parliament in the city of Lucerne. And this so-called children parliament, parliament for young people, started after we had this decision, the parliament, and now all over Switzerland, as Stephanie already said, 60 people working for this idea of youth parliaments. And it's also the question we have today in this workshop together. That's a chance. I mean, young people, this is for me a sign of hope. It means it's a young people, they have to decide about the future. Maybe we are a little bit older, Ted. I come back to you, a little bit older. But it's also the idea of the Global Forum to have the people here, and that's what I mean. That's a great moment to have you here. So, myself, as I just said, I'm the president of Swiss Democracy Foundation, former member of the parliament in Lucerne for 17 years, and I worked all my life for non-profit organization, non-governmental organization as director in Switzerland. This is kind of my work now. Now I have to do a time to be here to do the work I like most, to have worldwide democracy, develop worldwide democracy. But I think we start now to introduce the speakers. I have a microphone here, and I think, Ted, it's up to you. Just to give you 1 minute or 1.5 minutes some information about you, and then we go further on. I'm a little bit, you see there not all of the speakers could arrive. I don't know, maybe they arrive, maybe they have a traffic situation, or they're on the way. Anyway, we start, and welcome to everybody. Welcome to the speakers. I would like to say muchas gracias a todos to be here and to have this nice moment. Ted, the floor is to you.
Thank you. I'll introduce myself and then look forward to the conversation. I'm Ted Lempert from the United States in California. I bring several hats to this conversation. I'm the president of Children Now, which is an advocacy group in California working to try to ensure every young person has a great education and health. And we have offices in Los Angeles, Oakland, and Sacramento, and work very closely with youth-led groups. I also teach California politics at UC Berkeley, so we talk a lot about our very interesting direct democracy in California. And then I was in the state legislature on the inside, and in California the legislative districts are very large, 1 million for the state senate, 500,000 for the state assembly. So I served there and was very involved in education issues and worked closely with youth advocates. Probably most importantly, though, is many years ago, I was a youth leader myself and was very frustrated that I kept being told I was the leader of tomorrow rather than a leader of today. So very excited about this conversation in the panel.
Thanks a lot. My name is Gabriel Brezoiu, and I'm the general manager of JAKE. That stands for Group of the European Youth for Change. It is a Romanian youth organization created in 2010. So this year we are celebrating 13 years. And basically the organization started from the need to democratize access to opportunities. What does it mean? Romania in 2010 just entered the European Union. So we started to have access to different kinds of youth opportunities, conferences, trainings, exchange programs. But back in 2010, only the leaders of the NGOs would have access to this information. They would know that this exists. So we created Jake as a common space of sharing. So that was the initial idea back in 2010. If I hear about an opportunity, I would share it in the Jake community. So all the other members of the community would learn that such opportunity exists. So we were trying to break this cycle where the most interesting opportunities will be only accessible for the leadership of the organizations. What I'm doing now is I'm the general manager of the organization. I'm a youth trainer working a lot at European level, and I'm also supervising my colleagues and doing a lot of project management. What is the community doing now? We are 7,000 members. Just for a reference, Romania has 20 million inhabitants, and our community has 7,000 members at national level in the Republic of Moldova and in the Romanian diaspora, so the Romanians that are living abroad. These 7,000 members are young people, teachers, and youth workers, and I think this is another important aspect, that very often these three target groups are never in the same community. They have their own community, just for youth, just for teachers, and for youth workers. In the J community, they are all together, and we have this trilateral approach in which we are trying to bring them together in order to facilitate their communication and exchange of experiences. Our community started in social media, and this was an answer also to the lack of funding of the youth sector in Romania. If in other countries having youth centers, it's something that it's a common thing for 30, 40 years, Romania is not the case. So the online environment and the development of the social media brought us the opportunity to be together without being physically together in one place. I think I'll stop here. Thank you very much for the opportunity of being here, and I'll pass the floor.
Yeah, the floor is to you. Ricardo, it's great to have you here. I think it's the third time we met, or maybe fourth time on the Global Forum.
The second.
Great. Thank you.
Well, hello everybody. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm Portuguese. My name is José Manuel Ribeiro. I am a mayor of a metropolitan municipality in Porto of 100,000 people. The metropolitan area of Porto has 2 million people. I'm also a member of the Committee of the Regions. It's an assembly that it's in the treaties of the European Union that represents about 1 million elected people in Europe. And I'm also the president of the Portuguese Network of Participative Municipalities. So it's great to be here. We worked for the last 9 years and 2 months and 3 days. These questions of democracy, of participation, of representation. So it's always a wonderful opportunity to learn and to share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Soy Emma Borrallo, estudio Gobierno y Transformación Pública y Relaciones Internacionales en el Tecnológico de Monterrey, Campus Santa Fe. Escribo algunos artículos de opinión sobre la importancia de la participación ciudadana en la Cámara de Diputados, en la revista. Soy coordinadora de empoderamiento de mujeres en un grupo del Senado de la República y trabajo como directora ejecutiva en una organización llamada México Sonríe, que se encarga de humanizar la experiencia hospitalaria de los niños, niñas y adolescentes que están diagnosticados con cáncer en nuestro país. Me encantan los temas de participación ciudadana porque sin duda creo que son la base para construir un mejor México, para construir una mejor sociedad y para poder inmiscuirnos en las decisiones que toman diariamente nuestros servidores públicos. Gracias.
Thank you, Emma. I will come back to this. And muchas gracias. I think I ask you for just give you some ideas. You see the title of the program. La democracia directa puede par. Thank you. Okay, I go further on with English. It's much better. I think so. Okay, and I would like to start now with you, Emma. I mean, what do you think? What is your feeling? I mean, you joined now maybe 1 or 2 days of the Global Forum. would it be a chance to have a direct democracy maybe here in Mexico for young people, to bring them to give them the chance to start into a political discussion, maybe to bring their ideas, their completely different ideas than the older people have. How is the situation in Mexico for the young people? Maybe you can give in some minutes a little overview. Okay. It's okay for you?
Yes.
Thank you, Emma.
Bueno, creo que aquí en México hay una gran falta de cultura de la legalidad y de cultura cívica, y últimamente presentamos muchísimos retos porque como jóvenes es difícil querer salir a votar porque están desilusionados o están en un tiempo de apatía social en la que no quieren participar porque no les convence ningún partido político. Tal vez creen que algunos son muy extremistas o que ninguno los representa, pueden creer que no son escuchados o que hagan lo que hagan, pues no va a repercutir realmente o tener impacto en la sociedad. Y algunas de las personas que empiezan a inmiscuirse más y entran al Congreso y se acercan a personas que actualmente son líderes, se topan con que por ser jóvenes, no sé, los ponen a sacar copias o a hacer trabajos que realmente no tienen nada que ver con la participación pública. Entonces, la democracia directa es súper importante porque le estaremos dando poder a las juventudes, poder a la sociedad para tomar decisiones, y tal vez si ponen sobre la mesa temas que se les hacen muy interesantes, no sé, foros en los que pueden participar, en los que pueden aprender a cómo se redacta una ley, cómo hacer una iniciativa, cómo acercarse con el grupo parlamentario de algún partido para presentarles su propuesta y poder impactar. Ellos sabrán que sus voces sí son escuchadas, y al ver que están teniendo impacto en la sociedad, empezarán a participar cada vez más.
Okay, that's the one side. What do you need exactly now? What will be the chance? How is the process to introduce maybe the possibility for young people? What kind of instruments are today maybe possible for tomorrow? To think today about new instruments for young people, could it be possible to get them, or do you think there's no chance? Is there? I mean, if we have the situation all over the world, young people, they don't believe in political parties. I mean, a lot of them, they are living in these social media bubbles, and they don't get in contact with different other people. Diversity is so important today. And do you think that you have a chance here to bring, to get some possibilities, new instruments for young people, maybe on the local level? Of course, not on the state, not on the national level.
Sí, es muy bueno empezar desde el nivel local, y la verdad es que poder decirles a los jóvenes que sus voces sí impactan y que el voto es muy importante, que realmente es una forma de, aparte de asumir sus responsabilidades políticas que ha costado muchísimo trabajo tener, es algo que nos empodera y hace que construyamos una mejor democracia. Lamentablemente, no hay participación, y en las elecciones presidenciales, que es en donde se ve más participación de la general en sociedad, donde en el padrón electoral el mayor porcentaje es ocupado por jóvenes, aquí en México al menos, 33% de la lista nominal, para ser más precisa, ni siquiera el 50% de ellos vota. No sale a votar, y creo que esto se ve reflejado en el desconocimiento, en que necesitamos una buena campaña de comunicación en la que expliquemos los beneficios de participar, cómo podemos incidir en la vida pública, de qué formas podemos organizarnos como sociedad civil, no necesariamente militar en un partido político, sino organizarnos y comenzar a ver los problemas que hay en nuestra localidad, desde una calle no pavimentada, o niños que no pueden ir a la escuela, o que no tienen desayunos, y entonces empezar a crear un programa o una política pública para presentársela a nuestros liderazgos o a los servidores públicos que están en estas regiones, para que la presenten y empiece a tener repercusiones positivas en la sociedad.
Okay, thank you, Emma. Jose Manuel, how is the situation in Portugal for young people? What do you think, how can they get to power? Or maybe they have the power already in Portugal, young people?
Yeah, we have, in Portugal, we have a tradition of participation. As a matter of fact, our constitution has, in the second article, it's written that one of the job of the state is to perfection and to deepen participative democracy. It's incredible, but it's written in the constitution. It's good. Of course, then we can think about what it means. It means that we have to work hard to do it every day. We have a national network of municipalities that promote participative mechanisms, not only budgeting processes, but also other mechanisms. Of course, there is always this question, who has the impulse? Is it it's something that begins in a very natural way from society, or, for example, a mayor has the possibility of giving the impulse? It depends of the cases. In my experience, and I am here to share my experience, we had that opportunity to create different mechanisms. And it's very interesting to say this after 9 years of being a practitioner. For example, we started, the first initiative was a youth participatory budget. But after 2 or 3 years, we found out that we could do much more with that initiative. Nowadays, it's 250,000 euros, 25 projects, but it is completely changed because we have, for example, we sliced it. We grabbed the 250,000, and there are 5, 6, 7 projects for schools, for public space. But for example, but that's what I want to say, we have 4 or 5 projects for intergenerational projects. What is an intergenerational project? It's always a project that it's led by young people from 6 to 35, but they can put in their teams the grandfather, the grandmother, the neighbors. So you can see, with a very simple tool, you can put everybody, discussing an idea, fighting for the idea, trying to get votes, and that's a very interesting thing to say. A lot of times the problem of these processes is when you ask the question to the mayors or who organize, what is the rate of implementation? And as you know, a lot of times they have 30, 40% that are not implemented. In my municipality, it's 100%. The rate of implementation is 100%. Of course, that creates trust. But we were not satisfied with that, so we decided to explore that thing of putting together kids with elder people. And that's what we are now doing for the last years. We strongly think that it is probably it's not the best thing to create mechanisms only for kids. We found out that a lot of times mechanisms that put together all the ages, it creates a stronger social cement. And we see that in several. We have, for example, we created about 2 years with the help of university. We work a lot with universities and also NGOs. We launched the DeFi to kids, 10, 11 years, and also to kids of, not kids, adolescents of, 13, 14, 16. The question was very simple. Help us to think about public space within the urban planning discussion. But it is incredible. It was a discussion with the adults. It was not a discussion only with kids. It was a discussion about history, about stories, about life, about public space. And then, using technology, for example, Minecraft, we organized what we called hackathon. And they could, with Minecraft, materialize the idea for public space. But having the grandfather, the grandmother, all the time, putting together kids with their fathers and their mothers and their grandfathers and their grandfathers, because, and that's what I want to say, just because we have other projects, I think that is something that creates really good cement. We have a lot of people that trust in the projects. They, for example, it is very funny, recently we created a network of questioners. What is a questioner? It's a guy that makes questions all the time, that promotes what? Dialogue. It's a kind of good pain in the ass. Well, you know, because that's also one of the essence of democracy. Debating, you know, dialogue. But with every generation, to avoid a kind of generational or intergenerational divide that is dangerous. And that's why I in the morning I was asking, because it's true, because I work with these, I know a lot of old people that are very young, but also young people that are very old. And so when we create these mechanisms, and so we have at the national level, some years ago, they created the national budgetary process for schools. Of course, there was a problem. I'm here to share, so I have to say everything. There was the problem of consistency. I had already the opportunity to tell the Prime Minister, I know him very well, it's from my party, the problem of consistency. And who is listening, it is very important. When we create, if you create a process, you have to be consistent. Because that is the worst thing of politics. If you create something and then you forget it, you will lose trust. And without trust, we don't have democracy. Thank you. Sorry.
So I'm very, very happy to have you here, Rocio. Rocio is from Paraguay. And I've been there once, visiting the birthplace of Che Guevara. Strange situation there. Anyway, you are here. May you introduce you, and then we go further on, just to give the answer of the title of the conference. The floor is to you, Rocia.
Muchas gracias. Es un honor para mí formar parte de este panel. En relación a la pregunta que nos hacemos, ¿la democracia directa puede dar poder de toma de decisión a las y los jóvenes? Quiero compartir con ustedes el honor que es para mí que estén entre los participantes de este foro el presidente del Tribunal Superior de Justicia Electoral de mi país, Paraguay, el doctor Jorge Enrique Boarín González. Y en relación a la pregunta, no podemos dejar de mencionar lo que sería la inclusión y participación de todas las personas, de todos los electores y las electoras. Para no quedar en algo meramente teórico, siempre es bueno volver a la fuente y volver a repensar y cuestionarnos en relación a si la participación es solamente un derecho o si también constituye un deber especialísimo. Podemos entender con los años de democracia de mi país que por supuesto que es un derecho a ser ejercido en relación a los demás derechos que están acompañados. Por ejemplo, el derecho a la vida, que por más que parezca algo muy básico y muy elemental, existimos si lo hacemos dentro del sistema. Y eso tiene que ver con el derecho a la identidad. Recién ahí formamos parte y somos visibles. Eso fue un desafío para el Tribunal Superior de Justicia Electoral, llegar a trabajar en una integralidad de los derechos, no solamente con respecto específico a los derechos electorales, sino que también a los demás derechos. Y así es que tenemos planes y programas referentes a la participación política de las mujeres, referente también a la participación e inclusión de los pueblos indígenas, en especial con lo que responde a lo que sería el derecho de identidad, que nosotros llamamos la cedulación. Tuvimos casos, porque esto es un proceso, como lo decía el compañero, de personas que han recibido a la edad avanzada de 90 años su cédula de identidad. Y lo hicieron con una emoción impresionante, también manifestando que fue la primera vez en donde las autoridades se acercaron a ellos, a estos pueblos indígenas, y no ellos a las autoridades. Podemos decir que la participación y la inclusión tienen que ver con una construcción constante. Y esta construcción constante también tiene que ver con el dinamismo de las democracias. Una democracia estática no es tal. Y así como lo es el ejercicio de todos los derechos de los seres humanos, también ese ejercicio es dinámico. En relación a la inclusión, como actitud de integrar a todas las personas en cuestiones específicas, podemos decir que se enfoca en especial en aquellas personas que están en una situación irregular o en una situación de desvinculación del sistema originario o del sistema principal. Acompañar esa inclusión es un desafío, y si hablamos del ejercicio de la democracia directa por parte de los jóvenes, es que no podemos dejar de mencionar el ejercicio específico de la participación y de la inclusión de las personas que están fuera de ese sistema, específicamente. La participación es un acto social, y podemos llegar a decir que el que no participa también está transmitiendo un mensaje y está derogando el poder de la decisión en las personas que están ejerciendo ese poder. Entonces, la importancia de la no participación y el impacto que tiene en una democracia le llevó al Tribunal Superior de Justicia Electoral de Paraguay a tomar medidas certeras, concretas, a ser ejecutadas de forma integral y a no limitarse a lo electoral. En este caso, tenemos específicamente lo que fue recientemente el lanzamiento de un reglamento para todo lo que tiene que ver con el voto accesible, que le llamamos nosotros. El voto accesible fue establecido por reglamento del Tribunal Superior de Justicia Electoral, ya se aplicó desde el año 2015 para las elecciones municipales y tiene que ver con diferentes formas. Por ejemplo, en relación al ejercicio del voto y a la participación como candidatas, está la Escuela de Formación de Políticas para Mujeres, una innovación del año 2021 que sigue en pie, que busca la participación de mujeres como candidatas, porque hemos visto que la participación ha disminuido, ha bajado desde las últimas elecciones del 2018 a hoy. En relación a lo que es la participación de la juventud, de los jóvenes, tenemos programas que tienen que ver con la formación política de los mismos, la divulgación de los derechos, la capacitación en las universidades para la formación de centros de estudiantes, para tener un mayor reconocimiento en cuanto a la capacidad de elegir. Y en relación a lo que sería el voto accesible, hemos notado que el acceso al voto, por más de que haya estado garantizado, necesitaba un paso más. Y a eso me refería al nombrar el reglamento del Tribunal Superior de Justicia Electoral, donde ha detectado que el voto en casa, cuando las personas solicitaron ser incluidas en este programa, ha resultado para personas que tienen una discapacidad y ya sea de motora, visual, una enfermedad grave o edad avanzada que le impida movilizarse hasta el lugar de votación. Así es que se les acerca la máquina de votación hasta el lugar y para que ellas puedan llegar a realizar el voto. El voto preferente tiene que ver con las personas con una discapacidad en donde puedan llegar a acceder a través de una mesa especial y no tengan que perder tanto tiempo. Este voto preferente tiene incluso un cuarto oscuro del lugar del sufragio adaptado a ellas. También si se necesita braille, si se necesita lupa o una iluminación especial en la máquina de votación. La mesa de ayuda y del voto accesible también. Y como para terminar, tenemos lo de la iniciativa popular que tienen que ver con proyectos de ley presentados por jóvenes, por personas también de todas las edades, pero en especial por jóvenes, por la población de nuestro país, que es el 60% de la población tiene menos de 30 años, y el referéndum que utilizamos en el año 2011. Estos son los programas y actividades concretas que ha realizado el Tribunal Superior de mi país.
Just 2-3 words about your person. Maybe about your function, your profession, just 2-3 words.
Sí, yo soy directora del gabinete de la presidencia del Tribunal Superior de Justicia Electoral y soy abogada.
To please you all on the panel, all the speakers now, really go back to the title of our panel. I repeat it again, and I please you all speakers, just go to the question, can direct democracy provide users paths to decision-making power?
Exactly, that's what I wanted to follow up with. Romania has 33 years of democracy and 16 years of European democracy. What does it mean is that before 1989, what we are talking here about democracy was basically forbidden or discouraged. For example, we are speaking about citizens' initiatives and bringing them to the referendum. During communism, this will bring you to jail, if it was possible, but was not possible. So, young people who are now 20 years old, they didn't live in communism, but their parents and grandparents did. That means that for them, for these generations that lived during communism, it's very hard to understand that from 1989, communists fall, so now we are open-minded. Now we make our voice heard. It's a very difficult mentality change, shift. So you would say that 33 years already passed. Why are we talking still about communism? Because communism is still there. It's in the mind of your parents, grandparents, and many things are still transferring to you. Youth participation. If in your mind, or somehow transferred from your parents, you have this, that you shouldn't go against the authorities. You should not come with proposals. You should not run, because if they are running, they are corrupt and they should not be trusted. So if this is the DNA of your mentality when it comes to youth engagement, it's very hard to hear that you can get involved in direct democracy, to hear that you should get involved in a consultation. So we as an organization understood this challenge. And we understood that in order to tackle it, it's a long process. 33 years passed, probably we need 10, 15 more at least. And how we are working is, first of all, participation you learn from your family. That's the first level that you have to work. If in your family you don't have a word to say, most likely you will not have a word to say in a society, in the community, at school, at work. So that's the first place where you're learning what it means participation, when your opinion counts in your family. Second, in your school. Third, in non-formal education settings. And I will focus more on the third one because we as a youth NGO, that's what we do. We provide non-formal education settings where young people can express themselves. And we saw that many of them are not able to express themselves in the structured dialogue format, for example, in a youth council. Many of them are losing interest fast, so they cannot get engaged into 2 years or 3 years of youth council involvement. So we have on one side those that are able to understand and to follow up the structured dialogue. So they are going to meetings with the mayor, consultations with the parliament. Probably you heard that the European Union is having youth conferences every 2 or 3 times a year where they are bringing young people from all over EU. So some of them are involved in this. But we understood that some are not going to get involved in this because they are not part of youth organizations, they are not following the politicians, they are not following the institutionalized way. So we understood it's our duty as a youth organization to bring those that don't want to be brought. We should bring them as well to the table. And this is the challenge that we are trying to tackle. And we saw great potential in the social media. A lot of young people are using social media and they are spending hours on scrolling. So our idea was, why not bringing content, youth participation content, to their social media field? Why not having a poll on Facebook? Why not having an Instagram live where they can share their ideas? Because for many of them, this is a more accessible way of participating and sharing their thoughts than filling a survey, going for a focus group, coming for 3 days for a conference, or getting in a dialogue with their ministries and youth parliaments and so on. So we see both options relevant, but one needs the other. Many organizations are only following on the structured way of youth participation. And we don't claim that we are youth representative for Romania. We as an organization, we never said that. But there are organizations claiming that. You will hear them saying, we represent 100 organizations, 1 million young people. But if they need to organize an event, they cannot bring 30. So how can you represent 1 million when you cannot bring 30 to the table? So I think we should be a bit more humble when it comes to our representativeness and a bit more ambitious when it comes to going where the young people are. If young people are on Facebook, go there. If they are on Instagram, go there. If you can communicate with them on WhatsApp, communicate with them on WhatsApp. If they are on the street, if they are in a club, if they are at the seaside, you have to go where they are. And by you, I mean us as youth organizations or politicians, policymakers, whoever wants to have a dialogue or to engage young people in their process.
Thank you. So Ted, it's up to you now. How we give the power to the young people. I'm really interested to hear that from you.
Sure. Well, direct democracy certainly could be an avenue for more youth engagement. As you know, in the United States, we don't have any direct democracy at the national level. The state level, some do. In California, we actually had a direct democracy measure to lower the voting age to 17 that failed. The people voted no. So some other bad news, I was struck, very similar to Mexico, our youth feel a lot disengaged from the political process. More than half of them, we only have 2 major political parties, and more than half of the youth don't register with either. They are declined to state, no party. And then our voting participation among youth is low, much lower than other age groups. That's the bad news. the good news is, first of all, youth are very engaged. I mean, very engaged in societal issues and climate change and social justice issues. We've seen in United States, certainly in California, students being on school boards and now trying to get them actually, happening right now is trying to get them a vote on the school boards where the students serve. One of the most successful advocacy groups in California is totally student-run. High school students who have made significant changes around mental health supports and other issues. But when it comes back to direct democracy, it actually is similar to what a couple others said. I think in the United States we'd have to try it at the local level, and there's have been some attempts at some direct local efforts at the local level, and certainly part of that would be lowering the voting age to allow younger people to participate. So on the good news, I've seen a lot more, some positives in terms of the representative democracy being on school boards, advocacy groups, but I think direct democracy would be an opportunity, but we would have to reformat how we do direct democracy in California, and then certainly it's not even available at the national level yet.
Okay. Thank you, Ted. That's a moment where I would like to welcome here and say thank you for all the work. Joe Matthew, co-president of the Global Forum, is here, and I was happy 3 years ago in Taiwan, Taipei. I asked his son Tom to the stage, and I asked him, what do you think, Tom, about the youth parliament maybe to have in Los Angeles? In Lucerne, I mean, this is maybe a kind of answer we made it in Lucerne like that. 30 years ago, I asked in the parliament for a so-called youth or children parliament. Some of the people said, you are crazy. The kids, they want maybe sweets. And then we started with this idea. We got a majority in the parliament. I was surprised to get this majority. But this was the beginning. But the beginning was, of course, not direct democracy for the young people. So it's always what I've done during my, when I was a member of the parliament, going on step by step. Maybe a small step, maybe 2 steps forward, sometimes one backwards. But then, in 1999, Hillary Clinton, she joined the youth parliament session in Lucerne. Bill Clinton was invited in the Economy Forum in Davos, Switzerland, and the US ambassador in Switzerland organized the visit of Hillary Clinton in the youth parliament. This was the moment we got a big actuality in TV, in the media. Everybody was talking about the youth parliament. How can the youth parliament organize themselves, and how can they bring their ideas into the parliament, in the ordinary parliament, elected by the people? So we gave them, during the last year, the possibility to bring their ideas direct in the parliament of the city of Lucerne. And I think this was a step by step. And what we have in Switzerland, in 1971, we had the right, very late right of women to vote. In 1991, we had the right with 18 years. And now we have the first canton, state in Switzerland, Glarus, they have voting age 16. And there's a kind of movement now in Switzerland for voting age 16 to give the youth people the power. But anyway, I think we have now half an hour time, and I would like to open the panel here for your question, and I would like to ask you your question, short questions, not long discussions, short questions to the panelists, and ask them, just back to the title of the panel, how can we give more power to the young people? I'm a little bit worried about the situation. I can watch all over the world the climate activists. A lot of them, they're really frustrated because they don't have the power to go on during the pandemic 2 years. And some of them, they got very, very angry. Some of them, they went back home. But the question is now, what do you think? I'm especially interested to hear the questions from Mexico. So give concrete questions to the 4 or 5 panelists. You are invited to answer very short. I would like to have a lot of questions and short answers, and not long answers. So please, who is the one who starts the first question? Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
Yes, but it's really interesting for me. I have a question to you, Jose Manuel. I just looked in the Direct Democracy Navigator and saw there are two kinds of formal direct democracy laws in the municipality level. A gender initiative and also a municipality can give a referendum to people. So we in Germany, we have a more formal direct democracy right, and many young people use it because we can vote until 6. If you are 16, you are already eligible to vote on the municipality level. So I'm interested in what instruments probably your young people use, because we have really active young students between 6 and 18 using real direct democracy.
Give the question to who?
In Portugal, the minimum age to vote is 18. It's a discussion. We are having that discussion. And we have also, it's in the law, we have the possibility of local referendums, but unfortunately people don't use it. But I think there is a problem with the courts, because the way it was designed, it means that it needs an approval of the court. So I think it was designed not to be used, to be very honest. That is the problem. I think that is a very interesting question, important question. If we try to see the last thousands of years of human evolution and trying to understand the word participation, it is a story of participation. When we talk about power, who participates in power? Power means ruling or deciding the way you spend money. It was always like this, just a small group of people. The process of legitimization was through force. Then later, well, very good, with the Enlightenment, it was through the law, but also associated with force. And now, since the 20th century, finally, we are seeing, because of several reasons, we are seeing that you have the need to open the participation, to put more people in the power. But it's difficult because, for several reasons, the people connected with power, of course, they don't want to have more people sharing that power. And at the same time, the way that you nowadays in our society see the legitimation process is through participation. So that's the big, if we in 1 minute synthesize what is happening, it's these. We can talk about different mechanisms, we can talk about better examples, worst examples, but it's these. It's how are we going to open the power to more people, to poor people, to women, to different race people? That is the question. And it's not only kids, it's kids and adults.
Okay, keep the micro. Just introduce you, very short, name, country, organization.
Daniel Shugurensky, Participatory Governance Initiative, Arizona State University. Una pregunta para cualquiera que quiera contestar. Participación juvenil a nivel local. Por un lado tenemos el Estado con políticas de participación juvenil, los municipios. Por otro lado tenemos las escuelas, los distritos escolares que también promueven participación y educación ciudadana. Y luego tenemos las ONGs, non-profits, etc. Mi pregunta es, ¿conocen algún caso donde se articulen bien estas tres instancias? Políticas de participación juvenil a nivel municipal, escuelas y ONGs en promover la participación juvenil.
Thank you. Who will start?
It's a complicated question. There is something we are working on for 2 years already. We are working in a town 100 kilometers north from Bucharest. It's called Câmpina. It's 35,000 inhabitants, where we are working exactly in this format. We started as a partnership between the municipality and our NGO. And the usual suspects are the schools. So when we set up this partnership, the first actors to be involved at the local level are the high schools and the schools in the town. The aim of this partnership is to build up a participatory youth strategy, because this town never had a youth strategy, and they want to have a youth strategy in order to be able to allocate funding to it. So where we are at the moment is that we are already engaging young people in consultations for almost 2 years now. And our aim is that before the summer, the young people themselves, with our support, to facilitate the consultations with their peers and to draft a youth strategy that you would like to present to the local council, and eventually to be in a wider consultations in the town, and eventually being approved by the town. I'm not saying it's still a good practice, because democracy is hard and it takes a long time until you get the perfection, but it's something that we feel the need, this strategy not to be proposed by the politicians, but proposed by the young people themselves, because it's about them and it's about what they want to have in their town for the young people. Very often in Romania, authorities are employing consultants that are bringing very good strategies, but very far from the reality. And most of them never apply, and they are never allocated a budget. That's the tradition that we have when it comes to any kind of strategy. So we want to break this strategy. Maybe it's not going to be perfect. Maybe it's not going to be like looking like a consultant made, but it's going to be a youth made. And I think, in our opinion, this is much more valuable, that it's the young people point of view. They are synthesizing what they want, what they need, and they're proposing to the local council, that's what we want from you. How can you support?
I would just say very quickly, I do think there's lots of opportunity. The youth-led NGOs, we have many of them. In the United States, there's a group in Oakland, youth-led, that's been leading to some policy change. And I know someone referenced that these youth commissions can be somewhat meaningless. They were when I was on one many, many years ago. But today, they're getting more powerful. So, you have youth on all the different local commissions, at least in California. So I do think that youth energy and activism at the local level, and if you can bring together NGOs and youth representatives, you can really force the elected officials to listen and to change. So I do see movement and a lot of progress. I know when I was on a youth council, long ago, it was sort of like, show, isn't this nice? Where now, there's really an effort to give them the same voting rights and the same input, and I think that is a mark of progress.
Okay, take the microphone, please. Then we have Misko Deubelboer.
Yes. Yeah, you hold the microphone. Yes, I have a remark and a question also for Emma and maybe also for Ted. Yes. I'm from the Netherlands, and I try to push forward legislation to lower the voting age to 16 when I was a member of parliament. I was not.
May I ask you, what's the voting age now in the Netherlands?
18. But now,
yeah. And when you got the 18 years,
sorry,
voting age 18, just for a long time. In Switzerland, we had it just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. No, it's already for a long time, 18 years. But more and more every time it comes back to lower the thing. But I'm also here at these days because of the citizens' assemblies, and one of the nicest things of the citizens' assemblies is that you can, the perspective of the youth in a very good way. And I was wondering if that would be a good substitute, kind of, not a substitute for participation, but a substitute for the agenda of the youth. And the third thing is that more and more in panel discussions or in fora where I participate, they put a chair, an empty chair, and they call it the chair for the future generations. And that's a question I have for Emma, what she thinks about that.
I think the question is now to you, Emma, and maybe we can go also back for a short answer to you, José Manuel, because this is a really interesting thing, because start on the local level and give them to try to give them the youth more power. But Emma, the floor is to you.
Creo que es súper importante darles espacios a los jóvenes. En México últimamente se han hecho parlamentos juveniles en los que cada vez participan más jóvenes, pero con esta cuestión del relevo y las nuevas generaciones van a llegar a ocupar nuestros puestos y entonces los congresistas hacen estos parlamentos y les explican lo que hacen y les dan talleres, pero han pasado años y son esos mismos congresistas los que siguen haciendo esos mismos parlamentos para darles espacio a nuevos jóvenes. Esos congresistas no salen de su escaño. Entonces, por más que hacen parlamentos e invitan a la juventud a participar, ellos son los mismos candidatos en la siguiente elección. Entonces, es algo incongruente, porque entonces hacen esto para generar votos y para tener en su agenda a las juventudes, pero realmente no les dan un lugar o no les dan la oportunidad de sí aprender y de sí participar. Ellos quieren, creo que es muy difícil esto de tener poder y después querer dejarlo, y la democracia es súper importante por eso, pero si las mismas personas siguen liderando lo mismo toda la vida, pues no hay lugar para nuevas generaciones. Sí se debe empezar desde lo local. El problema es que la apatía viene también del desconocimiento y siento que del área de oportunidad que tenemos en educación, porque muchas personas ni siquiera saben quiénes son sus diputados, quiénes son sus alcaldes, y cómo queremos incidir en la vida, o nos quejamos de que las cosas no están bien, pero ni siquiera sabemos por quién tenemos que votar o cuáles son las responsabilidades de las personas por las que sí estamos votando. Creo que es muy importante tener más educación cívica y tener programas para que todos sepamos cuáles son las responsabilidades y obligaciones de los funcionarios públicos para poder exigir, y más allá de solo salir a votar, monitorear que estén haciendo bien su trabajo y exigir que cumplan lo que prometieron.
Okay, thank you, Emma. Short situation.
Yeah. This question raises a very important question that we never discussed. The question, we are talking about votation. Well, for me, I agree. Of course, we have a lot of cases that we need 16 years. So why not to vote? If it's true, it's absurd. But this question of voting, we have to think about that, because imagine, I agree with that. You change the law and you say, now everybody votes with 16. You don't grant, nobody here grants me that you will have high taxes of voting people. You will have the same problem. There is a discussion because of this. This raises deep questions and it's one thing I think about very, very deep. It's the question of be or not mandatory to vote. Think about this. In my country, in lots of countries in Europe, every family is obliged to give their kids a formal education. They don't have the freedom to say, my kid does not go to school. He might do the option to do it at home, but he needs to fulfill a formal process of education. At the same time, you are completely free of not voting. It's weird, because we never discussed this. I'm a social democrat, but we have to say it deeply. We value more the skills to participate in the consumer process, because we value more those skills. Imagine a person that doesn't count, that doesn't read, cannot buy, cannot participate in the mechanism, the capitalist mechanism. That's why we value more learning something than voting. It's weird. I prefer, that's why I always ask, okay, who is voting? Who is voting? Are we, for example, when we have an election, it is the vote of majority or it's the vote of minorities? A lot of times it's the vote of minorities. Some years ago, when I was member of the parliament, I visited Israel. And I was in Knesset, the parliament. You were also a member of the parliament. I was completely struck with the number of deputies of the extremist Jews. It is incredible. It's not mandatory, but they go almost everybody voting. So they have a not normal number of people in the parliament. That is a bias. That creates a great bias. So
I believe that, for example, Australians are right. They decided very recently to turn mandatory the vote. It's an idea.
Okay, yeah, I would like to go back to, I mean, you heard the question from Nisco from Amsterdam, but my first question, what is the voting age in Paraguay, actually?
18 años es la edad, sí, y el voto es obligatorio.
And what do you think about this idea, Nisco mentioned just before, to have a free and empty chair? Is that translation for you? If you have an empty chair, to give the empty chair to a further generation for young people, what do you think about this idea?
Sí, excelente, porque la participación debe ser hoy, porque los jóvenes son el presente y tenemos que construir con ellos justamente. No solo para ellos, sino que involucrarles en todo. Quería compartir que en mi país existe una iniciativa popular por parte de ellos donde solicitan la reducción del pasaje del transporte público, los estudiantes universitarios. Ya rige la mitad del pasaje para los estudiantes escolares de primaria y secundaria, pero los universitarios han solicitado esto y forma parte de un movimiento que ha surgido de ellos y han justificado. Todavía no está, la ley todavía no ha sido promulgada, pero ha sido presentada de forma reciente.
Okay, thank you. We are going to the end of the panel. We have enough space for one more question, a short question. It's open to you. Okay, thank you. Name, country.
Veronica, Mexico. Okay. My question is kind of simple. How do you make this participation among youth not being, for the message not to sound preachy, for it to be more attractive to young people? Because many of them think, oh, that's just lame, right? So how do you make it attractive to them? Oh, it's for all of them, but maybe for their family, because this is experience in Facebook.
So, short answer, Gabriel. Give me a mic.
Short answer, I will be very fast. One of them, for example, in March, 2 weeks from now, we will do a caravan to a region of Romania. So we will bring young people in this caravan in order to discuss, to share their ideas, their needs, and we're going to follow up based on these needs. We will design programs and activities linked to them. That's number one. Number two, the European Union has the Erasmus Plus program that is promoting youth exchanges. And a lot of young people love to travel. That's why it's a great opportunity. We organize every year 4 or 5 youth exchanges on youth participation, including digital youth participation. So young people that maybe didn't ever vote or they're not interested, they see an opportunity to go for a youth exchange in Romania, in Poland, in Spain, wherever, and they participate to this one only because they have the opportunity to travel. Once we bring them there, we engage them in a non-formal education setting in which they start to understand how the institutions work, why is it important to vote, what it means a petition, what it means a campaign. We are building up campaigns doing this. So these are just 2 concrete examples that we are already doing, and I think this is making the participation more interesting for young people. And definitely I will also include the social media communication, because young people are on the social media. They want to be involved through the social media means. We are doing Instagram if they are taking part in different polls and kind of social media engagement. So this will be like 3 concrete ideas that would make youth participation more attractive for the young people.
That's interesting, eh? I think this is a sign of hope. Maybe it could also be the last word for this panel. We are close to 4 o'clock, and we have to end here because there is another session, another panel, another workshop. I myself, I would like to say great thank you for participating all of you participating. Especially thanks goes to the translation of both of you. Great work. Muchas gracias. Then I would like to thank you, Roncia. It's not so a long way from Paraguay to here. Ted, it's also not so far away. It's a much longer way from Romania. Also, Gabriel, thanks to you. And we are about similar, I think, from Switzerland and Portugal. And it was great to have you here, Emma. Good luck to everybody. Good luck. Thank you. I'm happy the room is going on still Saturday. Join the session. Bring your ideas. If your ideas go directly to the corporate, join you and give them your question maybe for the next global forum. So I close this panel, this workshop. Thanks a lot. Muchas gracias a todos. Hasta luego, compañeros, compañeras.